The call didn't end with a click. It ended with the softest exhale, the kind Dad used to make when he tucked me in after Mom's funeral and thought I was already asleep. I was in her closet, surrounded by her sweaters that still carried her perfume, bergamot and warm skin, looking for the scarf she wore the last Christmas she was alive. My phone was on speaker in my pocket because I'd called him to ask if he wanted soup. He never knew the line stayed open. I heard the creak of his office chair, the clink of the crystal tumbler he only used when he thought I wasn't watching. Aunt Sarah's voice floated in first gentle coaxing. "Talk to me, Rich. How bad is it tonight?" A long silence. Then Dad so quiet I had to press the phone to my ear with both hands. "It's like living with a ghost who looks exactly like the woman I killed." My heart stopped. "I didn't pull the trigger on the cancer," he went on, voice shredded, "but I pulled every other trigger. I worked late. I missed scans. I told her she was dramatic when she said something felt wrong in her stomach. And now her daughter walks around with her eyes, her mouth, her exact way of tucking hair behind her ear, and every single time I look at Ella I hear Anya asking why I didn't save her. I can't sleep in our bed. I can't breathe in this house. Ella's not the problem, Sarah, she's the punishment. My living, breathing punishment, wearing footy pajamas and asking if I'm okay." I slid down between Mom's winter coats until I was sitting on her shoes. The scarf clutched to my face like a child. I didn't make a sound. I couldn't. I was drowning in the dark with her perfume in my lungs and his confession in my ears. "I just want to sell the house and disappear," he whispered. "I want to stop waking up to the sound of her crying through the walls. I love her so much it's killing me, but she's a weight I wasn't built to carry alone. God forgive me, she's a burden I never asked for." The line went dead for real then. The screen went black against my wet cheek. I stayed in the closet until dawn, breathing Mom in, letting every word carve itself into the softest parts of me until there was nothing soft left. That was the night I stopped begging the universe to give me my father back and started building a new universe where he couldn't reach me. The months that followed were a masterclass in disappearing while standing perfectly still. I learned to make his coffee at 6:42 a.m. exactly, the minute he liked it, and leave it on his desk with a post-it that said "Thinking of you" in Mom's handwriting. I practiced for weeks until it was perfect. I learned to cry only in the garage with the car running so the exhaust hid the sound. I learned to smile with my eyes dead because that's what grieving daughters are supposed to do. Perform recovery for the people who broke them. He started touching my hair again, tentative like I was made of blown glass. "You're doing better, Peanut," he'd whisper, voice cracking with hope. I'd lean into his hand and answer, "I'm trying so hard not to be a burden," and watch the guilt and relief war across his face. I fed the relief. I starved the guilt. At night I sat at Mom's vanity, the one he never entered anymore, and talked to her reflection while I memorized estate law, forged signatures, built shell companies with names that tasted like revenge. Forget-me-not Holdings LC. I used the money she'd hidden for my college. Money he didn't know existed because he'd never once looked at her separate accounts after she died. And I turned every cent into ammunition. I learned the exact pitch of voice that made realtors trust me. I learned how to cry on command when I needed a notary to look away for 3 crucial seconds. I learned that grief is the perfect camouflage. No one questions the quiet girl in black who signs papers with shaking hands. When the cash offer came in at $980,000, Dad danced me around the kitchen like I was 8 again. He spun me under the same light fixture where Mom's wind chimes used to hang. I let him. I even laughed the laugh he needed to hear. Closing day he wore Mom's pearl earrings. The ones she wore when she married him. He noticed, his eyes filled. I touched them and said, "She'd want us to be happy," and he believed me because belief was easier than truth. He signed everything without reading. I signed everything having read every word 100 times. The wire hit my account at 3:07 p.m. on a Friday. I was sitting on Mom's side of their bed, the side that still smelled faintly of her if I pressed my face into the pillow and inhaled until my lungs burned. $980,000. It looked obscene next to her indented pillow. I drove to his new loft that evening carrying a single white peony from her garden, the last one, the one I'd babied through winter. He opened the door in the same college t-shirt he wore the night Mom died. His face lit up like I was the answer to every prayer he was ashamed of. "Peanut," he started. I handed him the flower and the envelope. He looked from one to the other, smile faltering. Inside the envelope, the recorded deed in my name alone, the trust documents, A single photograph, Mom and me at the beach when I was 6, laughing so hard we're blurred, and a letter in Mom's handwriting because I had practiced until my fingers bled. Dad, you said I was your punishment, so I punished you back. The house was half hers. The life was half hers. The love was all hers. You sold what was never fully yours to sell. Every dollar you thought would buy your freedom now buys mine. Every memory you tried to outrun now belongs to the daughter you called a burden. I kept the peony because it was the last thing living she touched. You can keep the guilt. It's the only thing you ever truly earned. Don't look for me. I'm learning how to breathe without you. Ella. He read it on his knees. The peony crushed in his fist, white petals bleeding across the hardwood like snow turning to slush. When he finally looked up, the man who used to carry me on his shoulders was gone. There was only a stranger drowning in air. Ella, he choked, reaching for me like I was still his little girl. I stepped back. The space between us felt like galaxies. You taught me how heavy love can be, I said, voice soft, almost tender. Now you get to carry it alone. I left him there with the ruined flower and the weight he'd spent a year trying to escape. I drove home, my home, and sat on the porch steps where Mom and I used to wait for Dad to come home from work. The sky was the exact shade of blue it was the day she died. I cried then, not the silent, perfect tears I'd perfected for his comfort, but the loud, broken animal sound of a child who just orphaned herself. But when the storm passed, I wiped my face, walked inside and locked the door. The house breathed around me, full of bergamot and warm skin and the faint echo of wind chimes. For the first time since she left, it didn't feel like drowning. It felt like coming up for air.